Finally, fortune's fickle favor has seen fit to grace us with another string of fast-paced Fantastic Four follies. Author Chris Claremont has been writing Marvel's First Family for 8 months at this point, which is January of 1999, just in case you forgot. The Fantastic Four have faced and defeated Terminus, the alien TechNet. They've warred against the Captain Britain Corps to win young Franklin Richards' freedom. They've vaguely adopted the warrior slave Alisan Stewart, known as Caledonia, as well as an inhuman dog, and they helped to foil the Enclave's plans to use Genosha as a stepping stone in a bid for world domination. And that's just the Cliff Notes version of it. It's been a wild, if really uneven ride, as artist Salvador Larroca has struggled to pace his panels and story elements, sometimes causing issues to crash to kind of a rough ending. Claremont doesn't help things, filling the pages with narration boxes and dialogue balloons. But the pair also fill the pages with careful character interactions, interesting concepts, and big fight scenes. Larroca has even worked in about 24 pop culture references at this point, which is just a fun treat to spot. That said, our opening issue marks a new year, and a new publication year, so I'm really feeling those fresh start vibes. My name is Ben, and this is Comic Book Breakdown, episode 12.7, Fantastic Four, Volume 3, The Accused. Issue 13 opens at the Baxter Building, where the Fantastic Four are having a nice family breakfast. Ben tells Johnny that Cal Ripken, an American baseball player, has as much chance of passing Lou Gehrig's streak of consecutive games as a modern ball player does of breaking Roger Maris's home run record. In short, they've got no chance. Reed jumps in, asking Johnny how college is going. Johnny replies that his roommate, Wyatt Wingfoot, is kind of showing him up with his just sheer excellence. A small bit of ceiling suddenly drops down, landing right inside of Ben's orange juice. Then, the entire ceiling falls as a large man covered in green armor drops to the ground. Said landing ruins the breakfast, and the table that it was upon, sadly. Blue-skinned and wielding a metallic gray hammer with a long handle, Ronan the Accuser announces himself to his enemies. The Fantastic Four stand accused of destroying a Kree outpost and its robotic sentry, and, by extension, for defying the will of the Kree's ruler, the Supreme Intelligence. They have now been accused, they have been condemned, and now Ronan will execute their sentence by executing them. The Thing charges at Ronan, but the Accuser swats him aside with his hammer. Mr. Fantastic jumps in then, arguing with Ronan as he wraps the alien in his elastic body. Earth isn't part of the Kree Empire. They have no jurisdiction here. Ronan is unmoved, though. Where the Kree walk, then Kree law applies. He slaps a circular device onto Mr. Fantastic, who recognized the device as a miniature black hole generator. The black hole sucks him in, and Mr. Fantastic is gone. An invisible blow from the Invisible Woman catches Ronan in the back, shoving him into the wall. She reaches out with her force field, trying to trap him. But Ronan's hammer isn't just a tool. It is the universal weapon, capable of a great many things. He uses it to trap the Invisible Woman in a temporal displacement bubble, in which he controls the flow of time. He speeds things up, and Sue ages into dust, leaving a very angry Human Torch for last. Johnny flies at Ronan, who gestures once more with his universal weapon. He strips all oxygen away from Johnny, extinguishing his flames and his life as he suffocates to death inside of a vacuum. Ronan stands over his lifeless corpse and declares that now and forever the Kree Empire reigns supreme. Well, so much for a positive start to a new year. Time for an all-new, all-different Fantastic Four. someone get Wolverine, Spider-Man, Ghost Rider, and the Hulk on the phone? Yeah, see if they're busy. We got a new gig for them. They're going to love it. It's going to be great. Oh, I turn the page, and this is a training exercise for Ronan, who is in his spaceship. It was all just a hologram. Cancel that call. Hang on. Cancel that call. Never mind. Tell him thanks, but never mind. That's my bad. Totally my bad. Sorry, guys. Ronan's spacecraft continues to approach Earth. He orders it to send the training results to his personal computer for further review. He then basically waxes philosophic about how badly the Fantastic Four beat him before, and that defeat heralded the fall of the Kree Empire and the loss of his honor and all kinds of stuff. The Kree are currently ruled by the Shi'ar Empire, but not for long. Ronan swears that the Kree Empire shall rise again, and they will do so atop the corpses of the Fantastic Four. So yeah, this is a fake-out opening. Claremont uses this scene to establish who Ronan is, what he can do, and why it makes him dangerous, as well as using it to establish the character's motivation. He's pretty smart, cunning, deadly, and his universal weapon can manipulate matter, all of which serves to re-establish how awesome the Kree are. It's all fairly simple stuff, but it's pretty well executed. What I really like here are all of the clues that Claremont left for us to realize that this scene wasn't what it appeared to be. Cal Ripken broke Lou Gehrig's streak in September of 1998, 5 months before this book was published, setting this story in the past. Reed refers to Johnny as being in college, which he hasn't been in quite some time, plus the scene is set at the Baxter Building, which the Fantastic Four don't live in anymore. Plus, Sue and Reed's son, Franklin, isn't in this scene either, and you'd really think that they would include him in a breakfast meal. The Kree Empire haven't faced the Fantastic Four in, at the time of publication, at least 12 years. I scrolled through my comic shop's Fantastic Four listings going all the way back to 1987, and I didn't see a single mention of Ronan or the Kree. To be fair, I could have easily missed it, but clearly we're meant to notice that the Kree aren't up to date on the Fantastic Four situation. To be fair, I could have easily missed it, but clearly we're meant to notice that the Kree aren't up to date on the Fantastic Four situation. If you're a careful reader, you may have picked up on those clues right away. The Baxter Building thing was actually the one thing that made me suspicious. I don't know enough about baseball to catch that particular reference. But we now know that Ronan is headed to Earth with a grudge and bad information. I'm not sure who this is a bad sign for. The Fantastic Four, because Ronan wants to kill them, or Ronan, because he has no idea what he's about to walk into. On Earth, we and male person Wilhelmina Lumpkin pull up to Pier 4, ready to start the day. She's surprised to see Caledonia on the roof, her gaze facing the horizon, her sword drawn. Billy rings the doorbell, and Ben Grimm answers, still in his PJs. Seems he didn't sleep well last night, some kind of nightmare. He assures Billy that Caledonia is no threat, but he thanks her for her concern nonetheless. We then move to the roof, where a shirtless Johnny Storm climbs onto it. He asks Caledonia what's going on and reheats a cup of cocoa that he brought for her. She tells him that she had a dream, in which a blue-skinned man in green armor killed the Fantastic Four. They freed her from slavery and have taken her in. The Fantastic Four mean the world to her, and she'll defend them to her final breath. This unnerves Johnny, because he had the same dream. Downstairs, Johnny and Alisande join the rest of the family for breakfast and discuss their shared experience. Apparently they all had the same dream, even Franklin. Johnny, confident that they could take Ronan again, isn't really worried about it. Reed, however, noticed all those little details that we discussed, and while Ronan might not be up on their status quo, the Fantastic Four are also clueless as to Ronan's current capabilities. Alisande, being new to our reality, is clueless as to who Ronan even is, so she asks them. Ben tells Johnny that she's his gal, so he gets to explain it to her. The rest of the Fantastic Four tease Johnny about this, who insists that he and Alisande are just friends. But he does explain that the Fantastic Four fought Ronan once before, and sure, they beat him. The ruler of the Kree, the Supreme Intelligence, swore that Ronan would eventually destroy them. Not that Johnny is scared. But that's no reason for them to slack off or get lazy about it. Johnny and Alisand head outside and power up, allowing them to train as the Human Torch and Caledonia. A crowd of high schoolers watch as the pair duel, the Human Torch generating and stabilizing a thin sword of flame. He holds his own against her, but Caledonia is a far more seasoned warrior. By the time they've finished, he suspects that she could possibly outfight the entire Fantastic Four. The high school students are from one pier down, where the Stuyvesant High School is located. A teacher orders the kids to get to class, dispersing the crowd. Everyone does as he says, including us, and we move into Pier 4 and get to see Reed getting an earful over the phone. As Johnny and Caledonia walk in, toweling off their faces, Reed turns and berates them, as does Sue, for their display just now. They don't live in a skyscraper anymore. They have neighbors, and they need to keep those neighbors in mind. There is very little complaining about the reprimand from Johnny, which is kind of surprising to me. But the scene ends with Sue telling the team that she has something important to show them. But first, really quickly, no one addresses the fact that the Fantastic Four just experienced a shared dream. And not just the Fantastic Four, but Alisand too. No one asks or offers an explanation for it. And this is a plot point. This is what puts the whole household on edge. This is about to send Sue on a research dive. This is a thing. And no one talks about it. However, saying that, my personal theory would be little Franklin Richards. In older Fantastic Four comics, when Franklin was younger still, he would have prophetic dreams. It just has been a while since that has happened. But it's within the realm of possibility that he had this dream and then telepathically broadcast it because it was so upsetting to him. After all, he watched his family get killed. He could have reached out unconsciously and broadcast the dream, which honestly would have made for a way cooler opening scene. You could have done the Ronan kill scene, have it end with Franklin sitting up in bed, sweating and shouting, and his parents rush in to comfort him, but they know that his dreams could be real. So a feeling of dread would permeate the whole issue as they wonder whether or not Ronan was coming to kill them. But Claremont breezes right past this, choosing to focus on larger, more imminent story elements so much that he doesn't even offer an explanation as to how the characters could share a dream to begin with. Claremont is clearly focusing on Johnny and Alisand here, exploring the relationship that they have. When Johnny insists that they're just friends, Alisand agrees. Since he saved her, she is honor-bound to him. Quote, "An act of nobility like that forges a bond that lasts a lifetime." End quote. Now, Alisand doesn't really seem interested in Johnny romantically at all, and if she is, she has been playing it pretty close to the vest. And while Johnny does seem to be attracted to her, he has also been maintaining a bit of a distance. Normally, when Johnny falls in love, he's proposing to them in like a week. Reed notes that Johnny's passions burn bright and fast, but then he's moving on to the next thing. In Heroes Reborn Fantastic Four, Johnny knew Crystal for like 8 hours, and he was willing to give up on human society and his family if it meant getting to do sloppy makeouts with her. Is Claremont building a potentially stronger or more meaningful romance by having these two get to know each other before anything else happens? Or is he just making these two friends, and that's all it will ever be, and both the Fantastic Four and I am reading too much into it? I like the slower story overall here, and I like Johnny being more reserved. It's an interesting change for the character. Sue takes the team to the computer room to show them her discovery. After the Ronan dream, Sue figured that she would see if anything has changed regarding the Kree during the Fantastic Four's year-long trip in another reality. But the Fantastic Four's access to DARPA, to S.H.I.E.L.D., and even their Avengers access has been revoked. She tries to call Tony Stark, and his secretary politely brushes Sue off, telling her that Mr. Stark is currently busy, but don't call us, we'll call you. Ben then tries calling the Avengers, looking for Carol Danvers. Carol is currently known in Marvel continuity, and perhaps best known as Captain Marvel, but back in 1999, she was named Warbird, and she was an old friend of Ben's. One of the newest Avengers, a redhead named Firestar, answers the call. She gushes over Ben, fangirling a little bit, and she tells him that Warbird has recently resigned as an Avenger. She isn't reachable. "Okay," Ben says, "not a problem. So, what could she give him about the Kree, or Ronan, or the Supreme Intelligence then? They got a problem that's maybe on the way." And Firestar kind of grimaces. Yeah, see, the thing is, she can't share that information with him. There is a security block on the entire Fantastic Four, and then the Vision steps in to explain a bit. The Avengers have been forbidden by the United States government and the UN from giving aid to the Fantastic Four. Even informal interaction has been forbidden. Ben asks why, but the Vision doesn't know. No one ever gave the Avengers a reason either. They did voice their protest, and they are seeking a solution, but for now, the Fantastic Four are on their own. The Vision hangs up and leaves this frustrating mystery hanging. But we actually know why the Fantastic Four have been cut off. At the end of the Fantastic Four's adventure in Genosha, Valerie Cooper told the team that the UN wasn't happy with them breaking the no-access sanctions on the island nation. She also warned them that there could be serious repercussions to their actions. And here they are. Johnny, however, is not without his own information-gathering techniques. That show that the Human Torch and Caledonia put on for the Stuyvesant students, Claremont did that in order to establish the kids' adoration of Johnny, because he just popped over to the school, visited the computer and astronomy clubs, and they told him that there has been a lot of activity at Cape Canaveral lately. Someone is sending a lot of material to the space station and the moon, and they are building a permanent structure on it, specifically within the blue area. In the Marvel Universe, the blue area of the moon is a leftover test site by the alien Skrulls. There is a breathable atmosphere there, as well as an abandoned city. The blue area has featured heavily in a number of Marvel stories. The X-Men and the Imperial Guard fought over the fate of the Phoenix. This is where she died. The Inhumans lived there for a time, and the enigmatic alien called the Watcher lived there too. He's got a crib up there, actually. All of which is known to Reed, who is starting to grow worried. He enters the room, announcing that he has detected a strange signal emanating from the Four Freedoms Plaza. This signal matches the one that the Kree sentry that they destroyed years ago was using. Someone is contacting the Kree. At the Four Freedoms Plaza, we find some kind of operation underway by S.H.I.E.L.D. A group of Kree recently attacked the Earth, but they were beaten by the Avengers over in their own group of titles. 3 of those Kree were captured, and are about to be returned to their masters. 3 Mandroid units, which are basically large S.H.I.E.L.D. issue battle armors, they kind of don't have like heads on them. They're just rounded up around the shoulders, so it just looks like this big old hunched over thing. I like the look of Mandroids. They're just terribly ineffective in the Marvel Universe, but I think they look cool. 3 Mandroid units stand by in case things go wrong. Sergeant Charlotte Jones, who we met back at the start of Fantastic Four issue 11, she investigated the kidnapping of Reed Richards, is on hand as a representative of the New York Police Department. This is happening in New York City, after all. A bright light fills the platform, and the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents prep. They activate a containment field. Are we trying to capture the Kree representative, guys? Because if so, that doesn't work. Ronan appears and shatters the field easily. He turns to the 3 captured Kree, who aren't happy to see him. They curse him as a lackey of the Kree's conquerors, meaning the Shi'ar. At least, they had the honor to strike at the Kree's enemies, rather than serve their masters like a dog. Ronan isn't insulted, which surprises me. He's actually impressed by their guts. He offers them the chance at redemption, and then he raises his universal weapon in the air. The human agents shout that this wasn't part of the deal, and so they open fire. Ronan practically yawns at the gunfire, and he prepares to return fire with his universal weapon. But the Thing suddenly appears before him, the Invisible Woman dropping her cloaking on him. The Thing's punch staggers Ronan, allowing the rest of the team to move in. Mr. Fantastic wraps around Ronan, immobilizing the universal weapon. The Invisible Woman holds him next, allowing the Human Torch to melt the hammer. Haha, just like they practiced. Except that Ronan isn't fazed in the least. As one of the mandroids steps forward, seeking to arrest the Fantastic Four for interfering in a federal operation, Ronan uses this distraction to retaliate, firing an electromagnetic pulse from his eyes, which fries the mandroid's systems. Then he fires an intensifier beam at the Human Torch, pushing him to go nova. Johnny flies as far away from the group as he can in order to protect lives, and the Invisible Woman also throws up a force field around him to contain the energy. Ronan then turns to Mr. Fantastic, knowing that Reed is the key to the team's adaptability. He fires another beam from his eyes, but Sergeant Jones jumps in front of him, taking the blast. Reed is horrified at her selfless act. Ronan isn't bothered by it at all. The Thing moves to charge him, but Ronan orders him to stop. He wraps a big meaty hand around Sue and Johnny's heads, taking them hostage. Submit to him now, or watch them die. Reed knows that neither he nor Ben could stop Ronan in time to save their family. So, Reed surrenders. Ronan shouts a triumphant speech as a blue glow envelops the Four Freedoms Plaza. In the first panel, the moon hangs in the sky behind it ominously. And in the next, the Earth has taken the moon's place. Ronan has teleported the Four Freedoms Plaza and the Fantastic Four to the moon. So, this is dope. The Fantastic Four's tactics against Ronan were smart, but they underestimated his abilities, which is what ultimately led to their defeat. They weren't stupid, and he wasn't stupid, and that's good storytelling. I like that. Like I said, Ronan's attack was smart, dispatching the Fantastic Four, but leaving them alive for whatever shenanigans he has planned. And we're going to get a space battle on the moon. And well, hell, I am always down for that. Despite this, I was absolutely confused by this ending sequence. The S.H.I.E.L.D. agents act like Ronan's arrival is part of a deal, but if so, what deal is it a part of? With whom was it made? And how did Ronan's arrival violate it? They also seem to try to trap Ronan, but again, why are they doing that? Were they expecting him, or were they expecting someone else? Maybe the humans were trying to double-cross whoever they were dealing with, and Ronan just did it first? And then we have the three Kree soldiers. To begin with, when one of them talks to Ronan, he is colored brown instead of blue, so at first I thought that he was human. Only his dialogue clues led me to realize that he was Kree. Secondly, Ronan offers them redemption and then lifts his hammer, as if to crush them with it. But then there's nothing. So are those guys dead? Were they killed in the crossfire when the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents started to attack? Were they transported to the moon at the end like the Fantastic Four were? I don't know. I can't tell. And actually, if Ronan teleported the whole building to the moon, then what happened to the government agents that were on it? Because they aren't shown here either at all. Did they just drop like 100-something stories to the ground? I doubt that Ronan would care about whether they were alive or not, but I want to know the answer. So this issue was all setting things up, but I dug it. We're off to a pretty good, if slightly flawed, start here. Issue 14 picks right up where we left off, with Ronan holding Sue and Johnny in his hands, victorious upon the moon. The Thing and Mr. Fantastic are nearby but too far away to save their family. Police Sergeant Jones lies in Mr. Fantastic's arms, having taken an eye blast to the chest. Oh, hey, one of the mandroids that Ronan attacked lies at his feet. Maybe he did transport everyone who was on the building. I wish that had been conveyed in the artwork. While Ronan savors his win, He doesn't notice that the invisible woman is not unconscious. She has come to and attacks him with her force field. Reed's training sessions have taught her the best places to hit a Kree for maximum damage, but Ronan was trained to endure much worse. So Sue switches tactics. If she can't stop Ronan, she can stop him from hurting her brother. She envelops Johnny's head in a force field, keeping Ronan from killing him. However, as Ronan closes his hand, straining against the field, the pain of maintaining it brings Sue to her knees. Then the alien backhands her, dropping Sue to the ground, and he tosses Johnny over his shoulder. Several things then happen all at once. First, Ronan's hand is enveloped in golden energy as he recreates his universal weapon. Second, Mr. Fantastic knows that the moon has weaker gravity than the Earth, and the blue area has only a limited atmosphere. So even with a careless toss like Ronan's, Johnny might have enough momentum to pass through that atmosphere and into empty space. Fearing for his brother-in-law, Mr. Fantastic stretches out and reels him back in. Finally, the Thing charges at Ronan, looking to help Sue. Ronan hurls his hammer into the Thing, slamming him down through multiple stories of the Four Freedoms Plaza. All of that having happened, Ronan then surveys the battlefield, pleased with his performance. He turns to destroy Mr. Fantastic, stating once more that he is the key to the Fantastic Four, and finds him gone. Ronan laughs at his foe's cowardice, savoring this triumph, especially since Reed has abandoned his wife. Ronan then approaches Sue, who is struggling to find her feet. From a belt pouch, Ronan pulls a tentacled mass of squirming pink flesh, which he presses against Sue's force field. This alien creature is called a mannequin. It consumes its prey by bonding with them on a cellular level. Through this process, the mannequin will replace every bit of Susan's being, save for her mind. Her body will obey his every command forevermore. The alien spreads over Sue's field. Then it emits a signal to disrupt the force field's frequency, allowing it to pass through. It manages to touch her face, and then it is in, covering her head quickly. Within seconds, it has become Sue, her pupils disappearing to signifying the possession. Ronan orders her to bow to test the mannequin. And she does. Ladies, gentlemen, non-gender specific folks, welcome to another Claremont cliché, mind control. This is another one of those things that Claremont does so often, probably too often, that it's kind of become a running joke. And right now it feels like a weird turn of events. Ronan's stated goal has been the destruction of the Fantastic Four, and he has now tranced that team twice. Like, just stomp on him, man. You're done here. Why is he even bothering with taking possession of Sue? I'm also just uncomfortable with that idea, too. More modern portrayals of Ronan have been much more heroic for him. Sure, he has always been a defender of the Kree. He is definitely an overzealous patriot, but he has been much less of an outright monster about it. But Ronan and the Kree were originally created as basically space fascists. They're meant to be an example of the cold rigidity and inhumanity that such behaviors encourage. The Kree Empire was built by killing millions, by conquering worlds and enslaving their populace. Ronan, as an authority figure of that government, isn't meant to be a likable character. He is a villain, and stripping a person of their free will is villainous AF. So it's unsettling to see a character that I have grown to love over the years do something so abhorrent, especially to another character that I love like Sue. That is heightened by the fact that this male has stripped a woman of agency over her own body, enhancing the skeevy feeling that I'm getting here. Compared to Sue, I am much less worried about Reed. If he fled the battlefield, then he had a reason to do so. I'm sure of it. But instead of catching up with Reed, we go somewhere else. I'm not sure where we are, but given the strange beings found there, I'd guess that it's still in space. We are at a bar that the narration indicates is filled with the baddest mamma jammas this side of Rigel 5. They're all wanted, deadly, and fearless. And suddenly the doors to the bar open, admitting a woman in a brown trench coat swathed in shadows. The entire bar turns to look at her. She introduces herself as Bounty, and she's here on business. Everyone draws their pistols and their ray guns, and someone shouts, "Kill her!" over the erupting gunfire. This is literally a single full page of nothing but Bounty's silhouette as she opens fire, and the entire background is nothing but gunfire sound effects, screaming, explosions, and so on. We turn the page, and things are much quieter, because almost everyone is dead. There's only one other person left alive in the bar, and Bounty sits down at a table across from her. This woman is Asian in appearance, clothed in purple and yellow. Bounty accuses the woman of setting this attack up, and the woman admits that she did. Bounty is highly recommended, yes, but she is also pricey, and this woman wanted to make sure that she was worth it. Pleased, she then offers Bounty a job, holding out a hologram of Alessandre Stewart. Bounty sneers. She doesn't retrieve slaves. The woman explains that Stewart is a terrorist charged with treason and a number of other crimes against the state. Sounds dope. Bounty agrees to take the job. The point here is to demonstrate how dangerous and deadly Bounty is. But I won't lie, this is a really weak way to do it in my eyes. We don't get to see Bounty's skills, powers, or capabilities at all. All we get is a one-page silhouette, and then she wins, bada bing, bada boom, it's no big deal. This interlude honestly goes by so quickly that it's totally forgettable too. I didn't remember this scene happening at all. It makes no impact on me. There are no cool visual hooks, there are no interesting powers, skills, or weapons shown. We've just got another strong-willed, independent woman who does whatever she wants. Just like Sue Richards, Alyssa Moy, Roma, Saturnine, and Caledonia. Yawn. Well, like how Sue used to be, I guess. Back on the moon, Ronan has teamed up with the 3 Kree soldiers that appeared last issue. The ones that I thought he maybe killed. I mean, I guess he didn't kill them, and that he actually brought them along for the ride, but again, I wish that the artwork had conveyed that story element. That way you wouldn't have had to talk about it at all, Claremont. You could have just shown it! So Ronan has offered them a chance to redeem their failure. He has also deputized them, outfitted them with armor and universal weapons, and then he sicks them on the remaining members of the Fantastic Four.
Just kill them, you idiot!
Elsewhere inside the innards of 4 Freedom Plaza, Reed books it with Johnny on one shoulder and Charlotte on the other. He's aware that Ronan will be close behind him, and he is nervous about leaving Sue behind. But he needs a plan to defeat Ronan once and for all above all else. He knows that Sue can handle herself, and Reed trusts in her skill and experience. And oh boy, is that unfortunate. Reed rests Charlotte on a medical gurney and, having been holding her, is curious as to how she's alive. He opens her shirt where Ronan blasted her, and discovers a yellow and blue costume underneath. It's one that he recognizes immediately as an X-Men training uniform. Naturally, this is when Charlotte comes to, sore but alive. She explains that she has history with the X-Men, and, when she was selected for the Kree prisoner exchange, Charlotte figured that it would be a good idea to have some extra protection on hand. She asks if the Human Torch is okay, because he is still out cold. Reed confirms that he is alive and fundamentally fine. He'll be sore and mad when he wakes up, but he will wake up, so thank goodness there. Reed then moves through the room, his focus elsewhere. This room is the main vault of 4 Freedoms Plaza, and Reed was hoping to get a tool or some weapons to aid them. But the room is empty. Charlotte says that the government seized whatever they could get their hands on after the Fantastic Four died. Reed counters that he had planned for that, though, and had installed safeguards to prevent such a thing. Strangely, though, none of those safeguards have been activated. Someone has stolen everything that was there. Welcome, everyone, to another plot that goes nowhere. And it's a plot that I outright don't like. After the Onslaught crossover, Marvel published a one-shot to launch a bunch of their new books, like Thunderbolts and Khazar, called Tales of the Marvel Universe. And, if I remember correctly, there was a character who actually activated a device in Four Freedoms Plaza that destroyed all of Reed's inventions. I think that they were sucked into a pocket dimension or a black hole or something. So there shouldn't be anything for anyone to steal. The whole Fantastic Four plot in that issue was somebody preventing the United States government from getting access to Reed's wacky and dangerous inventions. Now, I could totally be misremembering the issue. It has been years since I added it to my Thunderbolts collection. I could totally be wrong, but I think that I have the broad strokes right. That makes this scene feel like Claremont is either ignoring continuity for the sake of a personal plot, or that he doesn't care, and knowing that this doesn't go anywhere else makes it just feel like the waste of a scene. The 3 Kree soldiers that Ronan recruited move through the plaza, hunting their prey. One of them heads off alone to kill the Human Torch, drawn by the heat signature on his thermal device. But this is actually a trap laid by the Thing, who has placed a flamethrower, and I don't know where he got that, beneath a leaning support beam. Once the Kree moves under it to examine the fire, the Thing destabilizes it, crushing him. Elsewhere, the collapsing building shakes beneath Charlotte and Reed's feet. He properly guesses that Ben is hard at work, but they must also leave him to it. Johnny still hasn't come to, and that's beginning to worry him. There is a new facility that was built on the crater's rim, and he wants to take Johnny there. Maybe they'll have medical facilities or supplies that they can use. Charlotte volunteers to stay behind and hold the line, but Reed knows that staying here to fight is foolish. He knocks her out, gathers them all up, and stretches on out. The frustrated Kree soldiers start blasting at everything, just firing wildly. From a safe distance away, Ronan knows that these guys' best hope of actually killing the Fantastic Four would be to just drop the entire building on them, so hey, maybe this will work. So long as they keep them busy for a little longer, they'll have served his purpose. And that is a lot schemier than I'm used to Ronan being. He's typically as blunt as the instrument that he wields. I wondered earlier why he was willing to ally with the soldiers, especially when they personally insulted him, but this makes more sense of it. The question now is what Ronan is trying to do while this distraction is going on. A short distance away, the energy explosions register at that lunar facility that Reed just mentioned. They know that someone is fighting someone out there, and one of them mentions calling the Avengers because they might need some backup. This is a short moment. It's just a single panel, but it's going to be important for our next episode. At the plaza, the Thing jumps, and the lower-than-Earth gravity allows him to soar towards the Kree soldiers. Their device's proximity alert picks up Ben's ascent, and they prepare to blast him. But suddenly, a nearby wall opens, and a human female-looking robot slides out. She smiles, introducing herself as Roberta, and the Kree blast it. He prepares to shoot Ben again, but then the wall slides open again, and a slightly older iteration of Roberta slides out. The Kree destroys this one, and then another one slides out, and so he destroys it too. Finally, though, the distraction has done its job. The Kree turns around, and the Thing slugs him unconscious. He then thanks Reed for the help, and Reed stretches into the room. And I'm sorry, wait a minute. I thought that we were leaving Ben to fight alone. What happened to telling Charlotte that now wasn't the time to fight, so we knocked her out? 'Cause A, that is rude as hell, dude, and B, what I was shown and told are contradictory. We weren't rushing away to save Ben, we were rushing away to save Johnny. I don't like this one bit. This is crap writing, you know? So there's one soldier left, and he is exchanging fire with Charlotte, who is covering Johnny's unconscious body from behind cover. She says that she doesn't know where Reed went, implying that he left her unconscious, which just seems careless and stupid when there's one more Kree soldier wandering around ready to kill people. Charlotte also realizes that her bullets aren't doing this guy any harm. She is just emptying her gun. And sure enough, She is soon empty, while his universal weapon is limitless. The Kree approaches her, gloating that he's going to kill Johnny and spare Charlotte, allowing her to suffer with the knowledge that she couldn't save him. But, much like with his sister earlier, Johnny has recovered and he has been faking it. So he catches the universal weapon as it swings downward towards him, and then he melts it. So now the Kree soldier starts to wrestle him, and then he activates his boot jets. The pair smash through the wall, and the impact is enough to knock Johnny back unconscious, and he flames off. Charlotte reloads, but unfortunately she doesn't have a clear shot at this point. Mr. Fantastic tries to stretch out and reel them back in, but he isn't strong enough physically to overpower the foot jets. Instead, Reed, taking advantage of the lesser gravity, slingshots Ben into the air. The Rockman tackles the Kree and Johnny, his added weight pulling them down. The impact jars Johnny awake, allowing him to use his flames like an afterburner and land them safely and without harm. He then burns away the Kree's armor, leaving him defenseless and unarmed. Johnny's control is so great that he doesn't even burn the alien, although he does tease it. Mr. Fantastic and Charlotte meet up with the Torch and the Thing, which just leaves Susan absent. Johnny asks about her, and Reed replies that he saw Ronan with her on their trek over to this location. She has been captured, but that is something they can fix. What worries Reed more is Ronan's destination. We then move to Ronan and Sue, who stand outside the home of the Watcher. The Watcher, who is named Uatu, U-A-T-U, is assigned by his race to observe our Earth throughout the multiverse. He pops up at moments of extreme significance, usually as a portent of something momentous happening. Inside of his home are mementos and trinkets that he has collected throughout his long lifetime. Inside, Ronan is confident that he will find the fate of the Kree race. And it is Sue's power that will get them inside, where she will die trying. Unable to do anything else, Sue agrees with her master. Last issue, issue 13, felt very carefully planned, right up until the end at least, and it was decently executed. There were a few bumps, sure, but overall it was solid. This issue feels way more haphazardly built. Details are missing, like whether Ronan teleported everyone who was on the plaza or not, why the Kree soldiers agree to help Ronan at all, who they've been shown to dislike, and we don't really have a reason why Claremont has included Charlotte Jones in all of this. Normally, I would argue that a human was brought along to heighten the danger, give the Fantastic Four someone to protect against dangerous enemies, since we know that the Fantastic Four aren't in any real danger. Yeah, they're characters within this narrative, but they are also intellectual properties that won't ever die for any length of time. But Charlotte is well protected and armed, so I don't really think that that's the case here. So then, I would argue that Charlotte is along in order to showcase the strength of human nature, that even without superpowers, humans are amazing and capable. And yeah, Charlotte has rolled with every punch thrown at her so far, and, in my opinion, has handled herself well, but I don't quite think we're there yet. Admittedly, we also have 2 more issues to go before the story wraps, so it's possible that Charlotte just hasn't played her role yet either. I also don't like how uninteresting the Kree soldiers are. They have absolutely no personality other than arrogant, and they are all basically the same in appearance, with blue skin, green armor, and either shaved heads or very closely cropped hair. Their lack of details and personality make them feel much less threatening because we aren't being told to care about them. They come across as cannon fodder, which they are, but that doesn't mean they need to be sold as that. To be fair, this allows Claremont to focus on how our heroes react to our villains, and that does work well. Ben is shown to be devious with his trap. He isn't just a big, strong, dumb guy. And I love Reed using the Fantastic Four's robotic secretary as a distraction, even if I am still bothered by Reed saying that Ben is on his own, but then he goes to team up with him. That's fine. Even if I were to say that Reed was trying to fool Sergeant Jones, well, why would he do that? She's been nothing short of amazing as a human ally, so why would he lie to her? I just don't get it. I also feel like Larroca is repeating his mistake from issue 9. This issue opens with big, glorious panels. We have a full-page image to open things up, and then a 2-page spread, and then we have the single page of bounties fight in the bar. As the story moves on, the panels get smaller and smaller and more crowded. They're basically more understandable than issue 9, so this is still an improvement, but I do feel like I'm seeing the same basic flaw present. I kind of wish that Claremont didn't reveal Sue's situation or Ronan's destination, or at least that he didn't do it so early in the issue. Imagine if Reed had fled, and then our story had gone with him. None of us would have known about Sue's fate or Ronan's scheme until the very end of the issue, where we would have just seen the Invisible Woman allied with the man who just beat the Fantastic Four twice. That would have been way more shocking, dramatic, and left us wanting to know more. And as Reed and Ben defend against the ever-present threat of Ronan, that's when you could introduce the idea that he has deputized the Kree soldiers. So they're preparing all of these defenses and the wall gets knocked down and it's not Ronan at all. Which would then make us go, well, wait a minute, what is Ronan doing? And ask those questions ourselves. And of course, Reed and Ben can ask them too. This issue was well set up, but it kind of stumbled a bit getting out of the gate. It is a good showing for Ronan, though. He was tough, he was smart, and right now I would say that he has the upper hand here. He's totally the villain. I'm not saying that I'm rooting for him. I just appreciate the fact that Claremont is giving a villain time to be smart and methodical and not just be a big dumb idiot. The Fantastic Four are going to need something to shake things up if they're going to win this. And luckily for them, help is on the way. Next week, the battles between Ronan and the Fantastic Four end up summoning the Armored Avenger himself, the invincible Iron Man. But armor systems can be hacked, and allies can quickly become enemies in issue 15. Then, in Iron Man 14, Ronan's plans are realized as he gains control of the Psych Magnetron and turns it on our heroes. Join me in a week for episode 12.8, Mayhem on the Moon. Everyone, there are a million podcasts vying for your time and attention, and I'd like to thank you for listening to mine. If you would like to get in touch with me to share a concern, request a series, compliment me, berate me, whatever you like, send me an email at cbbreakdown@gmail.com. Otherwise, thanks for listening.